That's fine. A good laughter at the beginning
Okay.
is fine. Okay. Welcome to the On the Virtues podcast, right? Is that what
Yes.
it's called? Today we're going to be discussing about what is the most essential virtue into obtaining the good life. So I'm here with Gigi Cuthbertson. And Gigi, we'd like to share what is your most important one, you think?
I chose prudence. My claim is prudence is the most influential and important virtue because it's the foundation that guides our knowledge and seeking of other virtues.
I really like that. What I picked was humility, and this is what I said. What I think is the most important virtue in order to obtain the good life is humility. And the reason why I think this is because humility is the understanding of oneself, but also the understanding of the objective reality outside of oneself.
Okay, so for my anchor passage, just kind of to expand, I said, this is from page 34 to 35. It says, prudence is at the heart of the moral character, for it shapes and directs the whole of our moral lives and is indispensable to becoming morally excellent human persons. Prudence measures the other virtues and determines what makes an action good. It is described as the basis and the measure of all other virtues. My takeaway kind of from this passage is just like overall it's talking about how prudence measures the other virtues, so I don't think that you can have like any other virtue without prudence because it's kind of like the foundation because you have to be able to measure all of the other ones, and I feel like for that you kind of need prudence.
So in your own definition, what would you say prudence is so I can get a good understanding of where you're at?
I'd say it's probably being able to decide and discern what's good and then like make the proper decisions based off of that view.
So how do you discern what is good?
Well, you have to look to the Bible.
Okay, yeah. But let's say if you're not a believer, then how do you know what is morally good? Because you could be...
You can't have prudence then.
So you got to have God if you're going to have
Yeah.
prudence.
I think, like, by definition, virtues need to have, like, faith in it. Because every single website I've looked online, like, it's all, like, a lot of, like, Catholic and, like, spiritual things. Because, like, if you don't have a faith, you can't really have, like, morals. Because you have no basis for your morals.
Okay. All right. I'm going to give you a counterclaim here because in my book, it said that humility is the start and the end. Let me get the exact quote here. It's on page 236 on Reading Well. It's the good life begins and ends with humility. And what I think really Prior is trying to say here is literally humility. Think about it. Humility is basically humbling yourself to know that you're sinful, humbling yourself under God, and like understanding that everyone is a mistake maker, and also it's humbling yourself to the point where you're like, okay, I need improvement. I know I need to improve on things, but you also are not being prideful in your things that you do well. You're like, oh, I do these things well, but I know I need to improve on them.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to fail on these things, and understanding that, okay, in some areas, I definitely need to work better, for sure. And some areas I do good at, but I can always improve, and I think that's why just humility, what I got from the book, humility equals being humble. And when you humble yourself, you really, like I said from my quote, you really take a step back and realize, wow, I need to improve a lot better. And it's like, how are you going to gain those other virtues without taking a look at yourself and be like, wow, I need to improve? Because if you're not willing to have humility and be like, oh, I do wrong, I do this, and like, I do bad, how are you going to be able to get those other virtues? Because think about it. You think you do everything well. If you're not able to humble yourself,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, then you're not going to learn those other virtues because you think you have them, but you don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I understand that, but I kind of wrote down, like, you can come to the realization to humble yourself, like, oh, like, I don't measure up. Like, you can know that, but, like, to actually do it, I think you need to have prudence because you have to make the choice to be humble. Like, and also to come to that, like, realization, you have to have, like, a foundation of, like, oh, what this thing I'm doing is, like, inherently bad. Like, and you can't have that without prudence, you know? Like, you have to be able to discern, like this thing I'm doing is right, this thing I'm doing is wrong. And then I feel like humility is more kind of, like, acting that out because, like, just knowing, like, you don't measure up, I feel like isn't humility. Like, does that
I get
make
what
sense?
you're at. Yeah, you gotta know what's morally good and right.
Yeah.
I mean, good and wrong in order to, honestly, I think what you said about God you're needing God in every virtue. I think that's really important. Like, if you don't have God, then you have no sense of direction in your life. You have no sense of, oh, this is right, this is wrong. Like, so I really do think that God is definitely number one priority, because in the book, I'll go back to this quote after maybe you say something, but there was like a quote that said, like, for humility, it's like, it's humbling yourself before God. And I really think each virtue requires God. If you don't have God, I mean, you could still be a good person without God, but everyone gets their morals from God, if you think about it. Our U.S. government is built on the Ten Commandments, basically.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what do you think good is? Because you're talking a lot about good, so like.
What do I think good is? Oh, that's a good question. I think. Well, remember, I think we talked about this with kindness and goodness. There's a difference between them. Kindness is the truth, right?
Well, that was more like kind and nice.
Oh, kind of nice. Okay, never mind. Sorry,
but
guys.
Good definitely plays into, I think, all of these virtues, because like.
I think good is just. Did you say that or no? No, actually, no. Never mind. Screw that. That's not good. Good is not just, because you can still do something good in your eyes, but it cannot be just. I think you were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Well, because it goes back to, like, what is the good life? Because, like, everyone has different definitions of that, but is there, like, one correct definition, or are we all free to have our own definition?
Well, we did talk about this in class. I remember, like, it's the good life is up to interpret. Like, each person's good life is always going to be different, but there's like one key factor. I don't really remember it, but.
Well, because I'd say, like, from a Christian standpoint, there is one view of the good life. Like.
100%.
Yeah, but, like, obviously not in modern American culture. There's not one definition of the good life. The good life can be going out and partying and getting crazy every night, but like from a Christian standpoint, that isn't the good life. Take a step back and talk about just our individual virtues. So mine is prudence. So just to kind of dive into the book, there's a paragraph at the bottom of 34. It says, prudence is considered the mother of the other three cardinal virtues. While temperance, fortitude, and justice are moral virtues related to doing, prudence is an intellectual virtue, a virtue related to knowing. Prudence is at the heart of the moral character, for it shapes and directs the whole of our moral lives and is indispensable to our becoming morally excellent human persons. Prudence measures the other virtues and determines what makes an action good. It is described as the charioteer of the virtues, the basis and the measure of all other virtues, helping us to apply general principles to particular situations in a way that avoids evil and accomplishes good. So just kind of to dig into that, prudence is kind of like the start of any good action you're going to have. I feel like it's like, first, prudence, you have to know what is good, what is right, what is evil, what is wrong. And then by that, you can like dive into the actual actions. On page 39, it says, prudence is wisdom at work on the ground, doing good and avoiding evil in real life situations. So it's not just like, obviously it's the knowing. You have to start, you can't do a good action until you know what is good. But then you also have to like take that wisdom of knowing what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. And then you have to take that and actually do it. So I think that's probably the most difficult part of prudence, because like we know what's evil. Like you can look at murder and be like, that's evil, that's not good. But the hard part is actually acting out that wisdom. So like as much as it's easy to say like, oh, just like be a good person, make the right choices, it's really not that easy to do.
Yeah, right now I'm looking up the definition of good on just ChatGPT to see what it gives. No, but like, because just to give us a little sense just of what it's saying. So it seems like it's giving 4 definitions here: a moral sense, a qualitative sense, a practical and functional sense, and a philosophy sense. So let me read them out right here. The moral sense is something that is right, virtuous, promotes justice and well-being. Example is like helping a neighbor is good. A qualitative sense describes something as of high quality, satisfactory, or beneficial. That was a good book. It was good to get enough sleep. Practical / functional sense, something that serves its purpose or produces the desired result. This tool is good for cutting wood. Philosophical sense.
Philosophical.
Thank you. Appreciate it. In ethics and philosophy, the good often refers to the ultimate aim or the highest state of well-being, virtue, or flourishing, as in Aristotle's idea of, that's a trippy word, the good life, which is that word here. I'll put this word into Google Translate and let it speak. But give me a second. But the word is referring to the good life. So I think when I talked about good, referring to the good life, but in a moral sense, we can see that's just right, virtuous, and promotes justice. So let me just let's see what this word actually says. Sorry, Mr. Montez, this is kind of... All right, here we go. Eudaimonia.
Oh, I think that was in the book somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think all those definitions are good, but I think when we talk about good, we talk about it in the moral sense here, and also the philosophical sense as well. So, referring back to that definition, the good often refers to the ultimate aim or the highest state of well-being, virtue, or flourishing. So I feel like that really connects back to humility.
Oh.
I have a great quote right here. It says pride. So this is the vice. The vice of humility is pride.
Okay, what page is this on?
This is on page 226. And pride is always a way of not seeing oneself properly, whereas humility is the self-knowledge perfected. And then going down a couple lines, true humility requires not only an understanding of oneself, but also an understanding of objective reality outside of oneself, which I already said. But really, humility, I think it really leads to the good life because, like I said, this is my base thing. You have to be able to correct yourself in order to obtain better versions of yourself. Because how are you going to get better if you're not going to take corrections and you're just going to be like, oh, no, I'm perfect?
Yeah, but how are you going to know what's better without prudence? Because I could argue off of, like, objective reality outside of oneself. What is that objective reality? You need prudence to figure that out because you need prudence to, know what's right, know what's wrong.
But then we need God, ultimately, to know what's right and what's wrong, which is the funny thing.
Yeah. I mean...
And so, you got something?
I don't know if it's one of the... we haven't gone through it yet, but I feel like faith is going to end up being the most important. So I feel like, But, we can't really dig into that because we haven't read that section yet.
100%. I think that will tie in everything. I think that's the most important one. But
maybe that's why we're saving best for last.
Best for last.
Faith, hope, and love.
Yeah. But on page 225, continuing on just analyzing humility. It says on the top of 225, thus humility is the recognition that we are all human, another word that comes from the same root, and that none of us are God. So basically, and then also, just go down a couple lines, there's an accurate assessment of oneself.
Yeah.
That's like the most simple definition of humility, an accurate assessment of oneself.
I think, a lot of people in the world struggle with this today because it's they recognize that we're human, but they almost use that to make themselves like a god. It's like, oh, I'm just human,
100%.
And just, they don't, assess themselves right because they don't realize their sin. And, while it may not seem like pride, I feel like it's such, a bigger issue today. I don't really have a specific definition right now, but I feel like there's, a lot of things where people will, be prideful. And it doesn't look prideful because it's not, affecting anyone else, but it's, they're prideful almost in their sin. They like to show off their sin, and, the world today kind of just, accepts that and almost promotes it sometimes. So I feel like that's, a way some of us in the world try to, be like God, and we really lack humility in that way.
Yeah, from this article that I read, it says that, when we gain humility, we actually gain, compassion for one another, because when you have humility, like I said before, it's you're able to humble yourself. And going back to the quote, humility is the recognition that we are all human. So when you recognize you're human, you realize other people make mistakes, and then you have compassion for others. And then you also realize that everyone is human, so you don't put yourself on a pedestal. And in this article, I gotta find. this is what it says. Truly humble people, and humble really ties into humility because it's literally
The same thing.
It's basically the same thing here. Truly humble people are able to offer this kind of gift to us. Oh, wait. Here, sorry. Went one down. Let's go right back up. Okay, here we go. It says, why is humility good? When I meet someone who radiates humility, my shoulders relax, my heart beats a little more quiet, and something inside of me lets go. Why? Because I know that I'm being fully seen, heard, and accepted for who I am. Warts and all, a precious and a rare gift that allows our protective walls to come down. Truly humble people are able to offer this kind of gift to us because they see and accept their own strengths and limitations without a defensiveness or judgment, a core dimension, according to researchers, of humility, and one that cultivates a powerful compassion for humanity. So, since humility and humbleness go together, it helps us connect to the people around us, and that's what I feel like also God truly made us to do, glorify Him, but also love one another and have compassion for one another. And I feel like that's what humility does. It brings us together, connects us, because it opens our eyes to see, okay, we're all human, we all sin, so let's just be there for each other instead of pushing each other away and say, I'm better than you because you made this mistake and I didn't do that, or we both made the same mistake but I was able to bounce back better. No.
Yeah, I feel like humility, you can always turn it to yourself, I need to be humble, I need to, humble myself, all this stuff.
True.
But the chapter talks about, Mrs. Turpin. It says Mrs. Turpin always noticed people's feet, and it's because she looks down on everyone, so it's kind of like a symbolism thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it just, talks about how, if you're not humble, you're going to look down on people, you're going to think you're above people.
Yeah.
And you're not only going to, think highly of yourself, but it's that, in comparison to other people. That's why, but then, you can't fall into the trap of, the excess in a sense of, oh, I'm just, so bad, I'm not good enough,
mm-hmm.
that side, too, and thinking everyone's above you. But, in the end of the day, we're all human, so, we're all
mm-hmm.
equal. None of us are gods, so. And I like how you said, it really helps us relate to other people, because, once you realize you're a sinful being, then you'll also realize, say someone does something wrong against you, you don't have to, take it so personally.
Yeah.
Because, sins are automatic.
Yep, it's just going to happen. Going back to prudence, because I was going to pick that one, but, I kind of wanted to challenge myself. And then also, I feel like humility is a big part in life.
Yeah.
And
my outside source I looked online
mm-hmm.
is from the Cardinal Virtues, Prudence, the Catholic Gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
It says prudence is a virtue that takes time to acquire, but because it governs the other virtues, it is one of the most important virtues we can possess. The website, it was a pretty short article, but it just kind of
mm-hmm.
talked about what prudence is, how it's important, and kind of how to acquire it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said we need prudence because it's the start of every virtue. It said it governs the other virtues, so it's kind of like an overseer, I don't know, you have to have, it's almost like a rubric, I feel for the other virtues, because it's oh, what's right? Let me look back to prudence so I can, judge if this, action I'm doing is right.
No, I do agree with you on that. I feel like prudence is the backbone to everything, for sure.
Yeah. I also wrote, without being able to choose right and wrong, you can't choose to have or grow in any other virtue.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I feel we talked about, prudence so much in class. It's just so,
Yeah, we know that, we already know a lot of things about it. But, no, I really do agree with, how if prudence is literally the backbone, because, how are you going to decipher what's good and what's wrong and make sure you're picking the good? Because isn't, it picking the good even if you're in the bad? Is that kind of what it was?
I mean, I feel prudence and temperance were really similar in the way that, temperance is, kind of using prudence in, another
mm-hmm.
form. But, yeah, prudence is kind of just,
It's really just always trying to choose the good.
It's taking the wisdom and, doing it in real life.
Mm-hmm. So taking, God's wisdom and then using it in life to your best ability. But, you're going to fall short.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about so much, I feel
mm-hmm.
in all of my classes about, the God's wisdom versus the worldly wisdom recently.
Yeah.
Especially Bible and how, the world's going to twist prudence because
mm-hmm.
obviously prudence is solely based off the wisdom.
Yeah.
So, you could have, I guess you could say, a worldly prudence would be unvirtuous prudence, but, you could go off, what the world thinks and be like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, just take the world's view of wisdom and then take that to think you're using prudence, but you're really not, because it's not like the God given.
In Bible, we use this symbolism with the Matrix. You have the red pill and the blue pill.
Yeah.
And basically, I think it was the red pill that was God's wisdom. I don't remember which pill, but
Yeah.
we just go, the red pill was God's wisdom. The blue pill was
The
world's wisdom. Which one do you choose? One's you get pleasure right away, and you get everything that you want, like, right away, basically, which is the worldly. Like, you're going to suffer in the end, but you get all the pleasure you want. And then God's wisdom, you're going to suffer, but then you get all the pleasure for the, like, which one are you going to choose? Like, do you want pleasure now, or do you want pleasure later and for the rest of your life?
Yeah. And it's, like, also the level of pleasure. Like, for now, it's, like, living in your sin, which, like, feels good, but, like, at the end of the day, it really doesn't, compared to, like, you know, living the unpopular way maybe, or, like, the way that you might get judged for, but, like, ultimately being in God's kingdom. So.
And it just goes back to prudence, just trying to always use God's wisdom, for sure, but also being humble. I feel like both of ours are really strong virtues that are
they
definitely need each other, to work 100%.
I don't think one can survive without the other.
And that, honestly, I think every virtue is intertwined. I really think if you're trying to cultivate each one, you need each one. You need to maybe you could focus on one at a time, but see, that's what I'm saying. Like, what do you start with? And I think what we're ending with the book, faith, I think that is what you start with in order to obtain all the other virtues.
I think this podcast was a setup, because I honestly don't think, like, one of the virtues can be, like, the most important. I think they all have to be equally important. Like, you can't just value, like, one of, like, oh, like, God gave us this virtue and this virtue, I'm going to value this one over this one. I think they all just need to be, like, at utmost importance.
Oh, 100%. And I think also that, like, my question is, which one do you start with? But since we're always saying all these are intertwined, that's why I'm thinking faith is the one you start with, because it's, God.
Yeah.
You got to start with that one.
Yeah.
Like, you got to start with faith, because if you don't have the truth and you don't have the true wisdom, then, like, how are you really, like, I guess you still, like, we've talked about this, if you don't really know God, you can still be a decently good person, but are you going to be a truly, like, see, that's tough.
Like, virtuously good person? No, I don't think so.
Exactly. So I think faith is going to be the big one.
Yeah, you're not going to want to cultivate any of these. Like, why would you want to make yourself a better person if, like, it's not to glorify God? It's like people of the world, like, they're like, oh, I can be who I want, like, I am who I want, because, like, they don't have a reason. Why are they going to go out and, like, be a better person if they're content in their sin?
Yes. It's like that quiet ego that, people have. It's like, oh, I'm just better. Like, I don't even need to work on myself. And I think, but it really truly goes back to prudence and humbleness and humility coming together. Because if you don't realize that you need to work better on yourself,
you're not going to.
You're not going to. And then if you're realizing, like, okay, what I'm doing is bad with prudence, then you're not going to think, oh, I'm not doing it too bad, so I'm just going to continue my ways. Yeah. So I feel like you need both.
Yeah.
They're interlinked. It's
interlinked.
It's just pain and suffering. It's like, I don't even know what, it's so hard to, like, decipher on, like, which one's really better, because, like we said, it's really...
I think this is a setup. I think they're equal.
Yeah, Mr. Montez, you dirty dog. You dirty, dirty dog. You're mean. I'm just joking.
I think we can conclude. I think our virtues are very working together and equally important.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think I would want, like, to have just prudence or just humility. I think I would want both.
Yeah,
and I think I need both.
Oh, 100%. And that's the humble part.
Yeah.
That's the humility part. You're taking accountability.
Yeah.
And then prudence, you're realizing, oh yeah, I'm doing bad. I need both. I need to do better. I need to do good. So yeah, I really agree with that. So I guess ending off with there, we agree that you need each virtue. It's not just one.
Yeah.
Like maybe you start with one, which is faith, but every single one's intertwined, and interlinked, they say.
I agree.
Yippee! We did it. Hello, my name's Diego Gigi. I'm a senior at CVCS. I'm here with...
I'm Gigi, and I'm also a senior.
And
Period 4 English class with
Let's
Mr.
go.
Montez. Best class.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
This episode has been a production of the Capistrano Valley Christian Schools Podcast Network. CVCS is a Christian TK through 12 school in San Juan Capistrano, California. Please visit cvcs.org/podcasts to listen to the variety of shows our students produce on our campus. You can also find all of our shows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and others. We would also appreciate you subscribing to and leaving a review of this show and the other shows on our network in your podcast player of choice. If you have any questions or would like to reach out to us, please email podcasts@cvcs.org. On behalf of the school, this is Mr. Jasper, the executive producer of the podcast network. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more.